Hi and welcome to my channel. Thanks for being here. I'm honored to practice with you, and I'm sending you love wherever you are in the world today. Take a moment to put something comfortable on, get a cup of tea, and anything else that you need to do to get your space super vibed out for this evening yoga flow. Feel free to pause the video, and when you come back, we'll be in Balasana, or child's pose. And in the spirit of the pose, let's invite a sense of childlike curiosity and joy to the practice today. And take a minute to let go of anything that stops you from inviting that joy and that curiosity into your practice today. With the big toes touching and the hips seated down towards the heels, arms outstretched towards the top of the mat. Still here in child's pose, let's just walk our hands over to the right side of the mat for a side body stretch. Left hand can stack on top of the right. Make sure your hips are still making contact with your heels as you drop your chest down to the ground. And take one big, really deep full body breath here in the side body stretch. And on your exhale, start to walk your hands over to the left side of the mat. Right hand can stack on top of left. Drop the chest down to the ground. And same thing here. Take a couple of really full, deep body breaths here. Let them fill you up, let them revitalize you. Give yourself a moment to drop into your body fully and completely. Notice where you still need to let go, and invite ease into those places before walking the hands back to the center of the mat. Pausing for a moment and lifting up into tabletop, where shoulders stack over wrist, hips stacked over the knees, and strong arms. On the next inhale, let's drop our belly for cow pose. On the exhale, round through the spine and start to sink your hips down towards your heels. Inhaling, come forward for cow, squeeze those shoulder blades together. On the exhale, round the spine and start to sink the hips down towards the heels. Inhale for cow pose, come forward. Exhale for cat, round, and sink those hips down towards the heels. Take your time. Inhaling, come forward. Once more, drop the belly, look forward. Round through the spine and sink the hips. Let's do that again. Inhaling, come forward, take your time. There's no rush. And in this next cow pose, let's hold for a few rounds of breath. Full body breaths. Squeeze those shoulder blades together, looking forward. And on the next exhale, round through the spine for cat pose and hold once more, coming up onto the fingertips. Really round through the spine, tucking the chin to the chest. Full deep body breaths into the backside of the body. Take your time. Come back into tabletop position, neutral spine. Let's inhale, right hand up towards the sky. Pause for a moment, heart open. And bring the right arm underneath the left for thread the needle. Extend the left hand towards the top of the mat. Resting on top of that right shoulder, take a couple of deep breaths into the back side of the spine. Really breathing deeply into the shoulder blades. And from thread the needle, we'll extend the left leg parallel to the bottom arm. Sole of the foot plants into the mat, an option for a bind with the top arm at the low back, hooking it around the hip. Starting to wake up the body from head to toe. If there's anything that doesn't sit right in the body, feel free to modify as you need. Release the bind, bring the hand back to the ground, and for a little balance play, lift the left foot off the mat. Leg is parallel to the floor. And let's bring the knees back down to the ground, lift back up into tabletop position. And let's switch sides, lifting left fingertips towards the sky, heart space open. Pause for a moment before dropping left arm underneath the right, thread the needle, dropping down onto that left shoulder, extending the right hand towards the top of the mat, even walking it behind your head to increase the stretch. Play around with the positioning of the arm a bit to find what works best for you. And then start to incorporate those deep full body breaths. Again, just a reminder to invite that curiosity into each and every pose. When you're ready, let's extend the right leg so that it's parallel to the bottom arm. Sole of the foot plants into the mat. An option to hook the top arm at the low back. Notice if there are places of tension, whether that be mentally or physically, and see where you can invite ease into the pose. Seeing where you can invite ease in both on and off the mat. Release the bind with the arm, bring it back down to the ground, and lift the right toes off the mat. Leg is parallel to the ground for a little bit of balance practice. Still breathing. Relaxing the muscles in the face. Let's drop the leg down to the ground and lift back up into tabletop position. Extend the legs for plank pose. Take an inhale, and on your exhale, lift the hips high for Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, and start to walk the legs out, dropping one heel down to the ground and then the other. Do this really slowly, again letting go of any sense of urgency or rush. Invite slow and intentional movement into your body and into your practice. Take the time to explore what it is that your body needs, and let's all meet with our right heel drop down to the ground. Left heel is lifted. Switch sides, left heel down to the ground. Hold, pause for a moment. Drop both heels down to the ground. If your legs are really tight, feel free to bring a small bend into the knees. All together, let's lift high on the toes, bend the knees, and step or walk to the top of the mat. Inhaling to a flat back, bring the hands to the shins. Let's pause here for a moment, reaching the crown of the head forward, tip of the tailbone towards the back of the mat. Again, just giving yourself a moment to be here in the pose without anticipating the next move. Let's fold forward, bring our hands to our ankles, and help draw the torso down to the ground. If you notice that weight is heavily in your heels, shift it forward so that weight is evenly distributed between the toes and the heels. Let's shake the head out, yes and no. Really drop the head down to the ground. And slowly release the ankles. Let's roll up to standing, head and neck come up last. And let's find Tadasana or mountain pose. Palms facing forward, open through the chest. We'll interlace the hands at the low back. Draw them down to the ground. Open through the chest, open through the heart space. Deep breath into the heart space. Really drop those shoulders away from the ears, creating as much space as possible in the sides of the neck. Visualizing the crown of your head reaching for the ground before you start to fold forward. The hands can stay at the low back for a moment. And when you're ready, you can start to lift the hands towards the ceiling, starting to reach them over the head again. This is one of those poses that will look a little bit different for each and every one of us depending on our shoulder flexibility. Take your time, be gentle with yourself, don't force yourself into anything. And release the hands down to the ground. This time we'll interlace the hands around our neck, and our hands will act and our arms will act like a weight. And you can shake that head out, yes and no, a bit, sway from side to side if you need to. Even give yourself a neck massage here. Run your fingers through your hair. Again, explore the movement, explore the possibilities. Let the practice feel good for you. When you're ready, release the hands down to the ground. Let's inhale to a flat back on the fingertips. Planting the palms, walk the right foot to the center of the mat. Step the left foot back for a low lunge. Drop the back knee and inhale the hands up towards the sky. Palms face one another. Let's not drop into the front leg so much to start. Just gently waking up the hip flexors and the legs. And we'll take an open twist here. Left hand forward, right hand back, and start to sink into the front leg now. Breathing, and let's drop the back hand down towards the back leg, reaching those left fingertips up towards the sky. Active hand. Breathing, reaching, sinking into that front leg. And we'll drop the left hand down to the ground for a modified reverse twist. Right fingertips to the sky. Reach with those fingertips, and we'll drop both hands down to the ground. Step the left foot up to meet the right, and let's walk our feet mats width distance apart for a small wide-legged forward fold. Grab opposite elbows and sway from side to side, allowing your torso to act like a pendulum here. Weight evenly distributed in both the toes and the heels. And let's find stillness. Releasing the hands down to the ground, slowly rolling up through each and every vertebrae of the spine into Tadasana, palms facing forward before sweeping the arms up towards the sky. Palms come to touch at the top and take a bend at the elbow for prayer behind the head. Opening through the chest, through the heart space. Hands rest gently at the base of your neck. Take a deep, fulfilling, expansive breath into the chest. And let's lift the hands towards the sky, release, and folds forward, grabbing either ankle for a small wide-legged forward folds here. Hands on the ankles to help draw the chest, to help draw the torso down towards the ground. Let's inhale to a flat back, bring the hands to the ground, walk the left foot to the center of the mat, step the left foot back for low lunge. Let's sweep our hands up towards the sky, again, not sinking our full weight into the front leg to start. Feeling lifted through the body, yet at ease. Let's take an open twist, left hand back, right hand forward. Feel yourself reaching from fingertip to fingertip. Drop the back hand to the back leg, right fingertips sweep up towards the sky, active top hand sinking into that front leg. And releasing the top hand down to the ground. Left fingertips up towards the sky. Reach, reach, reach. Bottom hand is just there for support, not dumping our weight into it. And drop the lifted hand to the ground. Step the left foot back to meet the right. Drop the knees into tabletop position. And let's find puppy pose by walking the hands towards the top of the mat, keeping the hips stacked over the knees as we drop our chest down to the ground. Feel that stretch from the fingertips all the way to the hips. Allow the chest to fall down towards the ground, softening through the upper back and the upper chest. Let's take a bend at the elbows and find prayer behind our head. Resting the hands at the base of our spine. Take a really full, deep breath and extend the hands out towards the top of the mat. We're going to roll through the spine until we land in Sphinx pose, forearms down to the ground. We're on our bellies, untuck the toes, slightly tucking the chin to the chest to create a long line of energy from the crown of the head all the way down to the toes. Feeling into this gentle heart opening pose, stimulating Anahata chakra, heart chakra. When you're ready, let's lift the forearms off the ground, extending the arms in front of us. If this is too much for the spine, feel free to keep your forearms down on the ground. And let's release the forearms back down to the ground. Pause for a moment, take another round of breath. Releasing the hands on your exhale. Windshield wiper the feet from side to side, releasing any pressure throughout the back side of the body. Swaying from side to side. Legs slowly come down to the ground. We will focus on the body's energetic center, vital hub for balance, structural health, improved posture, our spine. So hands extend out on the diagonal, a little bit wider than shoulder width distance apart. Keeping the feet on the ground, we're going to lift up through the chest, reaching the hands forward. And exhaling down to the ground. It's like a cobra, but just keeping the feet on the ground and the hands lifted. So we'll inhale up once more, this time taking a bend in the arms for goalpost arms, squeezing those shoulder blades together. Keep the feet on the ground, extend the hands forward and drop down, forehead to the ground. So we're focusing on improving our posture, strengthening our back. Let's lift up, reach the hands forward. This time lift the feet. So long line of energy from fingertips to toes. Feel yourself reaching out with the hands and back with the toes. Lower down. Take a moment. Pause. Breathe. Feel your body filling up with air, filling up with energy, vitality. Let's lift up one more time. Take a bend at the elbows for goalpost arms and then lift the feet behind us. Feel those back muscles working, strengthening. Reach the hands forward and down to the ground. Let's windshield wiper the feet from side to side. Take your time. Connect back to your breath. If you notice that you're in your head, allow your awareness to drop down into your belly. Let's bring our hands directly underneath our shoulders, tuck our toes. On an exhale, we'll push up into straight body plank. You can also push up from knees, lifting up, reaching the hips high to the sky, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Right toes to the sky for three-legged dog. Keep the hips square to the ground to start. Now open through the hip and take a bend in the knee, dropping the heel down towards the glutes. Strong arms here. Extend the toes to the sky and step the right foot to the top of the mat. Planting the foot. Let's lift up for warrior two position. Bending weight into the front leg. Knee is stacked over the ankle. Turn the front hand towards the sky for peaceful warrior. Right fingertips to the ceiling. And modified side angle, elbow to the front knee. Reach left fingertips, bicep to ear. Open through the heart space. Long line of energy from fingertips to toes. And let's lift back up. Straightening the front leg, lifting the hands up towards the sky. Lean back slightly. Bring the hands to a T for Trikonasana. Reach all the way forward, triangle pose. Drop the right hand down to the ground, left fingertips up to the sky. And bring that top arm bicep to ear. Incorporating a side body stretch here with the hamstring stretch. And let's bring both hands down to the ground. Step right foot back to meet left. Lift the hips high to the sky. Option to take a chaturanga if that's in your practice. Otherwise, left toes to the sky for three-legged dog. Hips stay square to the ground to start. Toes are active. And now we'll open up through that hip, taking a bend in the knee, dropping the heel down towards the glutes. Reach the toes to the sky, bring it through Cheetah. Slowly tuck the knee up towards the chest and then step the left foot to the top of the mat for Virabhadrasana 2 or Creator 2 pose. Sinking weight into the front knee as it stacks over the ankle. Relax the muscles in your face. Turn the front hand palm face up for Peaceful Warrior. Relax the jaw. Relax the muscles around the eyes. Let's find modified side angle, elbow to knee, right hand bicep to ear, long line of energy from fingertip to outer blade edge of foot. And breathe. And starting to lift up, straightening the front leg, engaging the quad to help protect the hamstring. We'll lift the arms up to the sky. Gently lean towards the back of the mat for just a moment before we come into Trikonasana. Now extending the arms out into a T, reaching all the way forward and dropping the left hand to the ground or to the shin or to a block, your choice. Right hand reaches towards the top of the mat as you bring the bicep to the ear, imagining that you are in between two panes of glass, so your hips are stacked over your legs. And let's turn towards the top of the mat and step back into downward facing dog. Let's take one cleansing breath, inhaling through the nose and sighing the air out. Reach right toes to the sky and step it forward for pigeon pose. Right shin comes parallel or as parallel to the top of the mat as possible, which will depend on hip flexibility, but dropping the hip down to the ground. Let's walk our hands forward and come down onto the forearms. And if you have the space, resting your head on the ground, the forearms, or a bolster. Fully surrender the weight of your body to the ground. focus your mind. It's not a deep or intense focus, but simply allow your focus to rest on the sensations that arise in your body in this pose. Allow your focus to rest on your breath. Allowing the focus to be on the 5 senses. Allowing ourselves permission to be fully immersed in the present moment. Taking your time to sit up, we will come into seated pose and bring our feet about hips width distance apart, hands behind us, palm face down, fingertips forward, pushing through the arms to open through the chest. Let's lift our hips high to the sky for a reverse tabletop position, opening through the whole front side of the body. A little counter stretch here to pigeon, to forward folds, and lower down on an exhale. And let's meet in downward facing dog, however you need to get there. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Lifting right toes to the sky, reach, and step that left foot forward for pigeon on the left side. Remember, sides will always be different. This is not about judgment, it's simply observation. It's simply honoring the differences in sides. Let's come down to our forearms. And again, if you have that space, coming down forehead to mat or to a block, to a bolster. Something that I also find really helpful is if you're feeling super tight at first, staying lifted through the chest or through the forearms and taking a few really deep intentional breaths. And as you invite that intentional breath in, your body opens, and through that opening, then you can come down to the ground rather than trying to force yourself into a position that is just deeply uncomfortable. Let's take a couple more deep breaths here, wherever you are. Again, no judgment, just pure awareness, pure observation. Full surrender of the weight of your body to the ground. Let's start to lift up and make our way into a seated position. Pause the video if you'd like to stay in pigeon longer. So we'll come to seated and extend both legs out in front of us. We'll take a reverse plank, so hands come directly behind us, fingertips face forward, and lifting the hips high to the sky. Again, this is not about the way that it looks, it's about the way that it feels. So if your hips are closer to the ground, that is okay. Let's bring our hips down to the ground and slowly roll down onto our spine. Keeping the feet firmly planted into the ground, let's lift the hips for bridge pose. Knees are hips width distance apart, squeeze those glutes. And drop the hips down to the ground, stack the right leg on top of the left, and drop the knees over to the left side of the mat. Arms can come out to a T. Left hand can rest on top of the legs to help bring them closer to the ground. Optional blocker bolster underneath the knees. But allow the twist to come from the belly button, so both shoulder blades are rooted into the mat. The twist is coming from the belly. And notice how the breath can become constricted in a twist. Let's come back through center. Switch sides, left leg stacks on top of right, drop the legs all the way down to the right side. Right hand can stack on top of those legs to help draw them down to the ground. And again here, noticing how the breath can become constricted in a pose and taking those really intentional breaths. Feel yourself filling up with air with every inhale. And with every exhale, your legs soften. You soften through the obliques, soften through the outer hips. Let's unwind the legs as we come back through center and find a shoulder stand pose. Let's lift our feet high to the sky, bring our hands to the low back to help us support. Legs are together, feet are together. Seeing if you can keep the feet stacked directly over the shoulders so there's a long line of energy from the shoulders to the toes. And dropping the feet towards the top of the mat for plow pose. Interlacing the hands and extending them down towards the mat. Again, use your discretion with these poses. You know your body best. Honor where you are at. Let's find deaf man's pose, taking a bend in the knees. Bring the knees to either ear, covering them, almost as if you were blocking one of your senses out to allow yourself to focus more deeply on the other senses, such as what you're feeling, what's arising in the body, what's arising in the mind. And taking your time to start to roll down vertebrae by vertebrae onto the spine, curling up into a little ball, tucking chin to chest, preparing for Savasana. Let's open out, release the legs, the arms down to the ground. Bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the tummy. Allow the natural flow of prana, of life force energy, to return. Inviting that full surrender, full relaxation into your body, into your mind, and discovering the peace that always exists within us. It was an honor to practice with you today, and I'm looking forward to the next time. Sending you love wherever you are, and in honor of this practice, in honor of one another. Namaste.